AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI's Ox in the afternoon at 4:38, 22 in front of 5 o'clock. Well, you can tell we're about 50 days out from the election as the folks are coming through fast and furiously. And it's also Ox Talks Tuesday night at the red carpet tonight. So I hear there are already some folks showing up at the red carpet. Remember, there's a free food buffet there for a minimum $9 drink purchase, which is essentially a 2-drink minimum, and you get a free food buffet. But to be specific, we say the $9, because there's some way that you can order like less than $9 worth of drinks and get 2 drinks. And so, sorry for the, minutia here, but it's important that we get that out. So they're open. The bar opened at 4, so folks are gathering right now. Doug and I are going to come over a little after 5. Doug Wardlow is our guest tonight. He is the candidate for Attorney General. Hello, Doug.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Minnesota Attorney General, the guy that's running against Keith Ellison. But it's weird because, you were running for that office, for a while. You were kind of the candidate. Yet Keith Ellison kind of out of nowhere all of a sudden wants to be Attorney General.
Right, exactly. He jumped in, and he jumped in because he sees an opportunity, he thinks, to basically use the office of the Attorney General to try to change policy in this state through the courts, through the office of the Attorney General. But that would really be an abuse of the office, because the office of Attorney General is supposed to enforce the law. It's about standing up for the rule of law. It shouldn't really be a political job at all. Keith Ellison has essentially pledged to use the office to push a political agenda, to go after President Trump, to try to obstruct President Trump's agenda, to lead the resistance against the president. That's completely inappropriate.
Completely inappropriate. An activist Attorney General. That's not what any of us are looking for.
That's right. We have too many of those all around the country, right? There are a lot of activist attorneys general, and I think that Keith Ellison wants to lead all of the different Democrat activist attorney general as they charge forward and try to bypass Congress and bypass state legislators.
Well, I want to open this up to you at 251-1990. Please share your comments, questions, suggestions, concerns, advocacies, whatever, for Doug Wardlow, candidate for Minnesota Attorney General, 251-1990. It's a rare opportunity here. Might be the last one before the election. And then, Doug, when you get elected, right, now then you can be the big hotshot AG, and we'll never hear from you again.
Going to be focusing on the rule of law, enforcing the law, not being political.
251-1990, 251-1990 on the Boulder Tap House studio or text line. So what do you want to know about Doug Wardlow for Attorney General? One of the things I think that I want to know, and that I've always wanted to know from attorneys general who are running or candidates, and that is, how can you win? How can a Republican win Attorney General in Minnesota? It just doesn't happen, yet somehow you're even in the polls with your opponent, and there are some might say that means you're actually ahead.
Yeah, things are going very well. We've got momentum everywhere and traveling all over the state, done over 400 appearances at different places around the state over the last many months. And there's just tremendous enthusiasm. That's because Minnesotans understand that we need an attorney general who's going to stand up for the rule of law, not be political in the office. Minnesotans want the politics taken out of that office. And Lori Swanson, the current occupant, has really politicized the office, as did Mike Hatch before her. We haven't had a Republican in there for 48 years, but I think the Democrats have overreached, and they've done a lot of things that are not good with the office, and it's become so thoroughly political. I think that is revolting to Minnesotans, and Minnesotans are ready for a change. So that's our opportunity.
You, sir, like I mentioned earlier, you were running for Attorney General, I think, before we ever imagined Keith Ellison would be.
Yes.
What were you running on? What made you decide to run?
So the same things I'm running on now. We need to prosecute welfare fraud. We have a huge problem in the state with welfare fraud. I'm sure most of your listeners have heard about the situation we have with welfare fraud, daycare subsidy fraud in smaller daycare centers.
Oh, yes.
Up to $100 million a year, perhaps, if the allegations are true, and they look to be very credible. We need to prosecute that. The Attorney General is the only statewide official that actually has the authority to prosecute welfare fraud. Lori Swanson hasn't been doing it. Keith Ellison certainly won't do it.
Certainly won't. No chance.
No, not at all. When Fox 9 came out with that report several months ago, Keith Ellison called on them to retract the reporting, saying that it was disparaging to the smaller community. That's just preposterous. He doesn't want the facts to be told, and that's really a shame.
Who cares what community it is?
Exactly. Who cares what community it is?
Right.
It's just the facts. We're talking about prosecuting people that are violating statutes that make welfare fraud a crime.
Sounds simple to me. Doug Wardlow for Attorney General, the endorsed Republican candidate, and then I don't know if you had to win a primary if you're uncontested, but
yep, won a primary, and so now the official nominee.
Didn't you run before? What did you run for before?
So I was in the State House for a couple of years, representing my hometown of Eagan, Minnesota, in 2011 and 2012.
Okay.
Yep,
because I've known you in politics.
Absolutely.
And you are an attorney by trade?
I am an attorney, and been practicing law for quite some time now. And I've most recently with Alliance Defending Freedom, doing a lot of constitutional litigation in defense of free speech and religious freedom, standing up basically for free thought, free speech, and free religion, basic universal American values, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution.
You should be the Attorney General. Oh, that's how that works. Dave from Santiago at 251-1990. You're on KNSI's Ox in the Afternoon with Doug Wardlow.
Good afternoon. I've got a great question for you. Well, I think it's great.
I'll be the judge of that, and so will Doug, but that's okay.
Okay, Andy Selick and Dan McGrath and others have gone after our elections, and they've tried to get data released from the Secretary of State, and time after time they're continually shut down and shot down. They've had to go to the Supreme Court and have argued in front of the Supreme Court for all sorts of things, and still when told, you've got to release the data, they're told, hey, go pound sand. I'm not going to do what I'm told to do. As Attorney General, would you respond to something like that?
Good question.
That's a very good question. First of all, that litigation is the Minnesota Voters Alliance litigation is moving forward, and I'm hopeful that it will be ultimately successful. And I know that Secretary of State Steve Simon, he has been flouting the law and refusing to release the data that's being requested. It's pretty clear to me under the Minnesota Data Practices Act that he does need to go ahead and release it. And there may be a point when the Attorney General would need to weigh in on that and express an opinion. But I'm hopeful that that'll be resolved very quickly here, and we can get that data and find out what's really happening in our election system. One important thing that the Attorney General should be doing, and what I will do, is make sure that we're enforcing all of our laws, and that includes our laws that make illegal voting, knowing illegal voting, a crime. Because it's actually a crime in Minnesota to cast a ballot for which you know you are ineligible. Mm-hmm. And you don't hear about a lot of prosecutions for illegal voting, but we do need to make sure that our laws are enforced, and that's one important way to help us maintain fair elections.
If, say, Steve Simon decides not to, what would you do?
Oh, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm hopeful that he will comply with the law. I'm also even more hopeful and looking forward to the fact that John Howe is going to win the election for Secretary of State, and then we won't have this problem because John Howe is going to follow the law. John Howe is a fantastic guy, and everyone needs to go out and vote for John Howe on November 6th.
As long as he stays off the back of tractors, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeez, were you at that parade, Doug?
I wasn't at that one. My goodness, terrible.
Horrifying.
Good thing Jim Newberg was there.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for Jim for being there to help everyone out on that one.
Absolutely.
Right person at the right place.
All right, well,
Absolutely.
Dave,
thank you, sir.
A great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's get into that a little bit more because we are seeing huge violations. And I go back to ancient history, Mark Ritchie and, the whole Norm Coleman, Al Franken debacle and all that. Were some laws broken there? Boy, I don't know. Back in the days of Mary Kiffmeyer,
right,
as a Secretary of State, no better Secretary of State ever in the history of the state of Minnesota. Can't believe that we fired her and elected Mark Ritchie. What a crazy thing to do.
Terrible.
So how important is that to get that Secretary of State position?
It's incredibly
back?
important. And it's an incredibly important office, and I look forward to working with John Howe as Secretary of State. Together, the Secretary of State and the Attorney General can work together to make sure that we have much more fair elections in Minnesota, tamp down illegal voting, make sure that nobody is disenfranchised, because every time you have an illegal ballot cast, it dilutes the vote and it cancels out a valid vote on the other side, and that's not how it's supposed to work.
I feel like the two go hand in hand, and I'm glad you brought that up. Doug Wardlow, candidate for Attorney General, 251-1990, 251-1990. Oh, this is from Rusty, one of our more prolific callers and texters. Does he kick puppies?
No, I don't.
Aha! We have a categorical no there.
Categorical no.
Rusty, Doug does not kick puppies.
I like puppies.
Are you a dog guy, by the way?
I'm a dog guy, yeah.
Dogs?
Yep. I had dogs. Unfortunately, our two dogs recently passed away, but had a beagle and a Sheltie. And, Absolutely. Dogs are great.
251-1990. We've got Doug in studio for just a few more minutes, and then we're going to turn him loose on the general public as the two of us are going to walk over to the Red Carpet Martini Lounge for Ox Talks Tuesday. So if you want to bend an elbow and get to know Doug a little bit, then we do have a microphone over there for just a brief chat, and then he'll take questions from you officially. But plenty of time to just mingle with Doug and find out why he wants to become Attorney General, and probably more likely with the crowd that we'll probably see at the red carpet, Doug, find out how you can help Doug Wardlow beat Keith Ellison.
Yeah, we have to do that. Keith Ellison is about... Yeah, we can't have him as Attorney General. That would be a disaster. Now, Keith Ellison, this is the guy that stands for open borders. He wore a T-shirt in the May Day Parade that reads in Spanish, "I don't believe in borders." And he recently said in an interview that was recorded on YouTube that he thinks that borders in general create an injustice. So it's perplexing to me how a person that doesn't believe in the fundamental concept of borders could be the top law enforcement official in the state. It's very troubling.
And our state, of all things.
I know
this isn't like someplace far away.
Right.
Tom at 251-1990 on the Boulder Tap House studio line. You're on Ox in the Afternoon with Doug Wardlow.
Doug, thanks for taking my call. And Ox, was just curious, would there be a debate between you and Ellison?
Yes, good question. So there is one debate scheduled so far, and that is going to be this coming Friday.
Coming Friday.
Yep,
okay.
TPT Almanac. It'll be broadcast live, and I think it'll be streamed on their website, or at least available after the debate on the website. TPT
I'm
Almanac.
Pretty sure the way it sounds, you can bury him, and I would like that. So anyway, thank you.
Absolutely, looking forward to that debate.
I'm glad we got that out there, Tom. Yeah, thanks for asking that. I'm sorry, like this week Friday?
That's right, this week Friday.
21st?
So the 21st, Friday the 21st, 7 p.m., TPT Almanac.
There's got to be people just clamoring for you guys to have a debate.
Oh, absolutely, there are. And it's going to be a great opportunity to show the contrast between myself and Ellison. You couldn't really have two more different candidates. He does not stand for the rule of law, and I do.
Amen. 251-1990. Oh, yeah, I got on this. This is good. What are his thoughts on Keith Ellison's law license?
Oh, yes. Well, Keith was unlicensed in Minnesota for a period of about 6 years. He recently got his law license back. But, he didn't have his law license for quite some time, and that means he wasn't practicing law. He's not a serious attorney, and he wasn't keeping up on his continuing legal education. It just shows that he's not a serious attorney, and you don't want a person that's not a serious attorney as the Attorney General, the top legal officer in the state.
Dennis has a question. We'll take Dennis's real quick before we take a quick break and then wrap up with Doug. Dennis, welcome to Ox in the Afternoon.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Let's say for some unforeseen reason Ellison does get elected, and he doesn't follow the laws of the state of Minnesota, such as the border, or he wants to sue some of the companies. I've heard him say that. Can he be impeached?
Well, there may be a process that in the state constitution for that. I have to look. I'm not sure how that.
Oh.
But the fact of the matter is, he's not going to get elected. We have to win this one. It's incredibly important that we do that. He would be a disaster in the office of Attorney General because he would push a political agenda. He would violate the rule of law. He would try to achieve things through the courts that he can't achieve, and the Democrats haven't been able to achieve through the legislature, through the Congress.
Well, let's say I don't care who it is. Is there a way of removing an attorney general from office if they are violating isn't one of your oaths is to uphold the Constitution of the state of Minnesota when you take office?
It is. That is one of yes. You swear an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Minnesota, and there may be some provision. But what I'm focusing on is just winning the election, and we have to do that.
Well, let's hope you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for the support.
All right. Good day.
Let's talk to Pat real quick, Doug, and then we'll take a quick break. Pat, welcome to Ox in the Afternoon.
Hello, sirs. I got a question. Whatever happened with the Somali daycare, the fraud and stuff, and if your guest becomes Attorney General, would he prosecute more people like that way, to set an example? Otherwise, it's going to just be free for all.
And we did address that a little earlier, Pat, but I'm sure you'd be glad to reiterate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Attorney General, one of the duties of the Attorney General is to prosecute welfare fraud. So, whoever commits welfare fraud in the state, it's the job of the Attorney General to prosecute it, and then also to bring civil lawsuits to recover funds defrauded from the state. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Enough said. All right, we'll take a quick break. Back to wrap up with Doug Wardlow. If you want to meet him in person, start heading over to the Red Carpet Martini Lounge right now for our monthly get-together of KNSI listeners. Ox Talks Tuesday at the Red Carpet Martini Lounge. 4:53. This is KNSI's Ox in the Afternoon. AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI's Ox in the Afternoon, brought to us all by Schultz Soft Water and M&H Appliance. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And thanks to Doug Wardlow, candidate for Attorney General, with us in studio. We're heading over to the red carpet here in a moment, so meet him in person at Ox Talks Tuesday. Todd has a quick question before we go, Doug, all right?
Very good.
Todd, welcome to Ox in the Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and I wish you all the best on your campaign and the election coming up.
Thank you.
But my question for you is, I used to live in Dakota County from 86 to 92, and the county attorney, he struggled getting Velcro to stick. Now, how are you going to be better than him?
Well, it's really important that the Attorney General back up our county attorneys, make sure that county attorneys have the resources that they need to do their job, which is to be the frontline prosecutor, which is to put criminals behind bars and keep our community safe. That's the role of the Attorney General. The Attorney General right now hasn't been doing that, and I am going to do that. We're going to make sure that Minnesotans are safe.
Awesome. Yeah, because
it's a good point.
You see James Backstrom on TV all the time, and I just remember in 92, the Robert Gravaro case evidence stacked against the guy. That's why I said, he has struggles to get Velcro to stick.
Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes they're stretched pretty thin, and, they need some backup from the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
Good question, Todd.
Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody, for participating, having some fun today and learning a little bit. Doug, we will walk on over to the red carpet.
Sounds good.
All right, and website real quick before we go.
DougWardlowAG.com.
Wardlow, Wardlow.
That's correct, yep.
Doug Wardlow. All right, and Google these days, I guess. You don't need to memorize websites.
Absolutely.
So. Very good. We'll see you at the red carpet. Ox Talks Tuesday. See you tomorrow on Ox in the Afternoon.